Welcome to I Don't Know What to Name This Show. I am your host, Sean Arguello. If you remember at the end of my last episode where I talked about Avatar, I talked about another film that followed the same formula of only being remembered for its visual action and not for its story, characters, dialogue, or literally anything else that made sense. That is the film that I am talking about today, Transformers. Now I know what you're thinking, Sean, what are you talking about? Transformers was a cinematic achievement. Have you seen those special effects? They're pretty damn great. Well, in a way, you're half right. I will stand by this until the day that I die. Transformers has some of the best CGI in film history. I am 100% serious, and I will defend that. However, that doesn't make up for its nonsense story, unlikable characters, stupid dialogue. However, at least when it comes to the first Transformers movie, not the 1986 animated film, I'm talking about the 2007 live-action film. There's a lot that works for this movie and a lot that does not work. But for right now, let me talk about Transformers. But before we begin, this video is brought to you by product placement. Hi, my name is Sean Arguello. Are you worried that your movies aren't going to be successful enough in order to pay your actors, writers, screenwriters, producers, anyone else involved with this film? Well, now you can. Introducing a revolutionary new product called product placement. Simply reach out to a company, have them pay X amount of dollars for a limited amount of screen time in this movie, and then bam, their products are represented in your film, and you get the credit, and you get the cash. All you have to do is literally shove a product in the camera's face to make sure that everyone understands that this is what they want you to buy. So what are you waiting for? Reach out for some product placement today. Change your life. Change your future. Okay, I don't really know what he was talking about, but that actually is going to take me into the very first point. Product placement. Now, I briefly talked about this in The Cat in the Hat, but I seriously think that product placement is pretty important. Yes, it's kind of just in your face, and it's basically just telling you, ooh, look at this, buy this item, buy this item, buy that item, and so on and so forth. However, like I said in the Cat in the Hat review, there's right ways to do product placement, and there are wrong ways to do product placement. I don't remember exactly how many brands are featured in Transformers, but I honestly think it's upwards of 60. Now, let me just make this perfectly clear. Sometimes in the movie, the product placement does work. As a matter of fact, I really do enjoy the design of Bumblebee when he's the new Camaro, as opposed to the old, I think it was a 1976 Camaro? Yeah, 1976 Camaro. I'm just on Wikipedia, in case you're wondering where I find all of this information. I'm on Wikipedia, and I'm just reading the plot, and I give my own thoughts on what's going on. Anyway, long story short, that works because the Camaro actually does look really cool. And, oh, great. Does this mean I'm starting to like product placement now? Okay, I don't like product placement as much as Michael Bay. I mean, look at Transformers. What brands are represented? Well, I've already said Chevrolet. You've got Pontiac. You've got GMC. Basically just General Motors. There's a shot where Michaela is actually in front of a Burger King. You've got I think it's a Nokia flip phone. You've got Pepto-Bismol. You've got, what else is there? eBay. Oh, let me talk about the eBay. Apparently this is a major part of this movie because Sam Witwicky is actually, well, at the beginning of the movie when he's introduced, he's actually presenting a family genealogy report on his great-great-grandfather, Captain Archibald Witwicky, who was among the first to explore the Arctic Circle. It's not historically right, but whatever, just roll with it. This is a new story. So anyway, long story short, he's selling all of the items that he has for his presentation, like the maps that he uses, I think, as well as some of the tools that he used, as well as his grandfather's glasses. And specifically, those glasses are being sold on eBay, aka product placement number 1 in this movie. I'm not going to talk about every single brand that's represented because that would be impossible. But I'm going to just talk about the main ones that are focused on. So, The reason why the eBay product placement does not work, well, for starters, I'm trying to watch a movie, not being brought to a website where you can bid on items, buy items, and stuff like that. I'm trying to watch a movie called Transformers. But there's another major problem with this film, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But as of right now, the reason why the eBay thing doesn't work and it kind of doesn't stick well with me, some people, their childhood hero is Optimus Prime. He's basically the ultimate good. He fights for humanity. He's always going to come out on top. Especially in the battle of good versus evil. He's the leader of the Autobots. Nothing is going to make people more upset and have their childhoods die than watching their hero, who they've looked up to for years, in a pivotal scene where Optimus is talking to Sam Witwicky about the glasses and how the coordinates to the Allspark are on his lenses. Nothing will make people more upset than watching Optimus Prime talk to Sam and basically look at the camera and say, eBay. What the hell? That's the sound of so many people's childhoods dying. Keep in mind, this is a pivotal scene in the movie. This is basically when the Autobots are saying that they need to have the glasses in order to find basically the source of life for their planet called the Allspark. Now, the Allspark came to Earth, and they're trying to find it before it falls into the hands of Megatron, who is the leader of the Decepticons. Now, during, like I said, this pivotal scene where Optimus is telling them why they are on Earth, you're taken out of the suspense and importance of this cube. Oh yeah, the Allspark is a cube. I think I forgot to mention that. And you have Optimus Prime literally say a brand by its name. Oh my god. I don't know how to expand upon that. It's bad. Oh, another thing. A little later in the movie, after they get the Allspark, Bumblebee drives from the Hoover Dam. Oh yeah, spoiler alert. It's in the Hoover Dam. That's where they're keeping the Allspark. They drive from the Hoover Dam to this place called Mission City. I'm being 100% serious. That's how Wikipedia has it. It's called Mission City. I've heard other people say it's Tranquility, but I've always thought it was Los Angeles, but it doesn't really make sense going from the Hoover Dam to Los Angeles, but I don't know why. I just always saw Los Angeles. Maybe it was. I don't remember. So anyway, long story short, during that scene, Bumblebee is driving from the Hoover Dam to Mission City, and we basically get a minute-long ad of the 2007 Chevrolet Camaro. Just why? Why is that important? You know how in a film, some people will say every shot matters? That's a pointless shot in order to sell you a $40,000 to $50,000 car. To keep in mind, this is a pivotal scene. They're driving from the Hoover Dam out to this place called Mission City. And it makes sense. It shows them driving around, basically on like a countryside is basically what it is. It's on a highway. And basically it's a minute-long ad for a Chevrolet Camaro. Keep in mind, you're supposed to be worried about the safety of not only Sam, but Michaela, as well as making sure that the Decepticons don't get their hands on the Allspark. Another thing I criticized was pacing. If you have an ad like this in the middle of your film, It basically kills the pacing. I talked about this briefly in the Cat in the Hat review, but in specifically the fourth Transformers movie called Age of Extinction, there's like a minute-long Bud Light ad where, in the heat of the battle, Mark Wahlberg's character crashes down back into a city inside of an escape pod, jumps out, shakes it off, and then gets right back into the action. But if you remember me talking about this, I said that that's how it should have gone. Instead, we get a pointless shot of a camera following these Bud Light cans on the ground on fire for literally no reason. Mark Wahlberg picks one up, pops it open, drinks some, and then throws it to the ground. If every shot matters, why is that in that film? Why does that scene matter? Why don't you just show the pod crashing through the Bud Light truck? Okay, that's it. Then you see them jump out and then get right back into the action. No, we need to extend this scene for another minute or so. That's just disgusting, honestly. Well, another thing I failed to mention. Michael Bay directed this movie, and let me just say, he kind of appeals to the lowest type of audience, the lowest form of audience. Basically just people who don't care about logic or plot or characters or anything else in a film, but instead they'd rather just go to the cinema, purchase a ticket to see visual action, explosions, buildings on fire, explosion, boom, boom, boom. Okay, yes, that can be cool, but that shouldn't be the only part of this film where you put actual effort in. But I'll talk about the visual effects later, but for right now, I want to talk about the dialogue. Now, I've already mentioned that the characters are unlikable in this movie. That's half right. This is the only Transformers film where I actually kind of care about Sam Witwicky. Now, let me just make this clear. In the later movies, he is annoying and he's basically pushed off to the side. The main character of Transformers is basically pushed to the side and is pretty much forgotten about. The savior of humanity, like twice, 3 times if you include Dark of the Moon. He uses the Allspark to push the cube. Well, I'm just going to call it the cube because that's what the Allspark is. Like I said, it's just a giant cube that they make smaller. So he pushes the cube into Megatron, and Megatron dies. Like I said, he already brought back Optimus to life. And in the third one, he's basically just tossed aside. He's not even the main human character. The person who saved humanity twice is literally picked up and thrown to the side. The only time I ever cared about Sam in these movies is in the first one. But I'm not going to go into like a deep dive of Sam Witwicky and how his character arc basically is sort of forgotten. But for right now, I'm just going to talk about the first Transformers movie. And let me talk about an important aspect that most people fail to realize, and that is the dialogue. Now, I've already talked about this, but if you... maybe I haven't talked about this. If you have interesting dialogue that keeps the audience interested, then you're going to have the people connect to these characters more because, what they're talking about is kind of interesting, and I'm actually invested in it. But no. Let's listen to some of these actual lines in the first Transformers movie. I might be improvising a little bit, but it basically gets the point across. These are some of Sam's lines, and try not to cringe because these are actual lines that made the final cut of this film. 50 years from now, when you're looking back at your life, don't you want to say you had the guts to get into the car? There's more to you than meets the eye. I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough, irritating, and it gets everywhere. Ah, crap. Sorry. I have to apologize. That's from another bad movie of the 2000s. Oh, I can see the dislikes already. No, the Star Wars prequels are not good movies, but that's a video for another time. So, let's transition over to the Transformers. This is in the heat of the battle, Optimus Prime versus Megatron. This is the ultimate conflict, good versus evil. Let's listen to their dialogue. It's both of us, Megatron. No, it's just me, Prime. By the end of this day, one shall stand, one shall fall. You know, I tried to give this film justice. Oh, wait, I haven't done that yet. I've just been ripping this film apart. But let me just say this. At least in the Autobots and Decepticons, at least for them, they're robots. Robots aren't supposed to show emotion. They're not supposed to show, like, the most character, basically. They're supposed to be robotic, emotionless. So when they're talking and they're not showing any emotions, that makes sense. But what about these characters? What about a line from Michaela where she completes her character arc? No matter what happens, I'm glad I got in that car with you. You know, I'm trying to just... You know what? I need a break. How about we talk about dialogue that actually is well done? Okay, now to be fair, when you're writing out a script, the dialogue might not sound that interesting. I'm going to use Breaking Bad as an example. When you listen to the dialogue, well, for starters, in the script, in an important scene, the line basically reads, "Say my name, you're Heisenberg, you're damn right." Okay, that doesn't sound very interesting. But then, when you put the actors in front of the camera and you start rolling, and when they start acting, you get this. "Say my name. You're Heisenberg. You're damn right." Now, I'm improvising that a little bit because I'm making it PG instead of PG-13, but watch the actual scene because it's pretty much You know what? Even though it's a TV show, I'm still going to call it cinematic perfection. Add in a line from Jesse Pinkman. "Yo, Mr. White." Bitch. Okay. I'm sorry for anyone who's watching this with their family members or with elderly people. I'm sorry. But that's how the actual line is. Again, I'm probably improvising, but that's how Jesse talks. Also, again, this video is now PG-13 instead of PG. Good job, Shawnee. So, anyway, long story short, you add in some fantastic actors, Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul. Throw in Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. Throw in Jonathan Banks, Anna Gunn, Bob Odenkirk, Giancarlo Esposito. Put that to film and... Damn, that's a lot of Emmys. Okay. Like I said, this was released around the same time in the later 2000s to 2010s. So, one last thing I need to talk about. Breaking Bad is a TV show, and it does dialogue way better than this motion picture that has a $150 to $200 million budget. I mean, you do you, movie. But at the same time, you could have at least put some more effort into making the dialogue sound better rather than just having these generic lines. Okay, as much as I've been ripping apart this movie, let me actually transition over to the good stuff because, surprisingly, there's a lot of good stuff in this film. Before I get into the visual effects, I'm going to save that for later, but for right now, let's talk about how this film begins. It basically begins with a shot of army men who are coming home from a mission. They all just want to get back to their lives. They want to attend baseball games. One of them wants to go back to their family because he has a young daughter. Okay, this is great. You're starting with these small character moments, and you're going to make us, the audience, want to be interested in seeing them get back to their lives. Okay, that's a fantastic start. Good. So now, what more development do they get throughout the film? Oh, what's that? What do you mean we're cutting their development and that's all they get? What? Wait, are you sure this is the route you want to take? Okay, you're the director. Thank you, Mr. Bay. Yeah, that's all the development they get. I mean, in the end, they do eventually get back to civilization, and the main army man, Lennox? Yeah, Lennox, played by Josh Duhamel, he ends up reuniting with his family, and he's able to hold his daughter. Okay, so that's great. But like I said, they get no other development aside from the opening scene. Okay, positive things. Oh, Anthony Anderson is in this movie, and I will never complain about Anthony Anderson being in a movie, except for Kangaroo Jack. That's all I'll say. So anyway, moving on. Like I said, Sam Witwicky is likable for the most part. Sure, like I said, I don't want to see anything bad happen to him, but at the same time, other than just his development in this film, he's basically given nothing to do throughout the rest of the trilogy that he's in. I mean, think about it. He's this high schooler who ends up being the savior of humanity. That's a pretty cool hero's journey. He goes on this, basically a character arc from... Actually, what is Sam's character arc? From being this kind of like a loser high schooler to savior of the universe? Yeah, remember how a little while back I said the 2000s was a weird time for cinema? Stuff like this is actually more common. They're the stereotypical high school loser who always gets bullied. That high school loser ends up doing something major for humanity, and everyone's gonna look at him differently, like, oh my god, this guy's the savior of humanity, bow to him, treat him like royalty. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be praising this film. Oh, let's see. The love story in this film with Michaela, played by Megan Fox, and Sam Witwicky's played by Shia LaBeouf. I think I forgot to mention that. Also, who remembers when Hollywood thought that Shia LaBeouf would be the next big thing? Because not only did you have this, you had the fourth Indiana Jones movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which came out, I think, the very next year in 2008. Remember at the end of that film when they teased him as the next Indiana Jones? Yeah, neither does Steven Spielberg or George Lucas. But anyway, long story short, even though Michaela and Sam have almost no chemistry with each other, this is kind of like the only time where their relationship seems... No, I can't even say that with a straight face. I'm starting to laugh. You know what? Let me put it this way. The love story in this film is pretty much just the prequel's love story. Anakin and Padme. Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman have absolutely no chemistry whatsoever. It's just bad dialogue. Again, I'm going to use some of the actual dialogue from the prequels and try not to slap your hand against your forehead and just saying, what the hell? So, this is actual dialogue. Again, I might be improvising this a little bit, but this is basically what it is. You're so beautiful. It's only because I'm so in love. No, it's only because I'm so in love with you. Did you just let out a collective what the hell? I don't blame you if you did. Remember that I don't like sand line I made as a joke earlier? That is in Star Wars Attack of the Clones. And that apparently makes Padme fall in love with Anakin. You know, I keep having to remind myself I'm supposed to be praising this film for this part. All I've been doing is basically criticizing it. Because, to be fair, That's exactly what this movie deserves. Michael Bay appeals to the lowest form of cinema goers. Basically, his films are the definition of a popcorn movie, also known as a summer blockbuster. These are the films that you need to see on the big screen. You have your popcorn in one hand, you've got your Coca-Cola in the other hand. I could have said something else, but remember, I'm talking about Transformers and product placement. You got that. Make sure that the Coca-Cola is facing in front of you. That way, if the camera is filming you, it has the Coca-Cola logo facing out. So anyway, you got that. You're sitting in your Regal Cinemas theater. You're watching it on the big screen. And you're just enthralled by the visual effects. You don't care about story. You don't care about the characters. You don't care about the stupid dialogue. And you... Oh, I caught myself right here because this is gonna be controversial. I'm not gonna go any further than this because this is more prominent in the sequel, Revenge of the Fallen. A lot of the characters are written in a way that makes them sound, well, I'm not going to say the actual thing, but if you're watching the YouTube video that's accompanied with this review, I will put it on the screen. I'm not going to say it, but if you're watching the YouTube video, you're going to see what I'm talking about. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Now, again, I'm supposed to be praising this film in this section, and I just tore this film apart. Let's get back into the good stuff. And honestly, there's only one good thing left about this entire motion picture. It's a pretty obvious one, but let me say it. The one and only visual effects. Let me talk about the visual effects. Because as much as I am not the biggest fan of this movie, I will appreciate the visual effects. So let me talk about why. First of all, when I saw them transform for the first time, I could realistically believe that's how they would actually transform. Just the designs of seeing these robots go from cars to giant robots, basically. That makes sense how they would realistically transform, all the different mechanisms of them turning around, all of them getting into place. And then going from robot back into car, it seems like that's realistically how they would transform. This is awesome. Because just the amount of detail that would have to go to make everything, I know I'm saying realistically a lot, but that's the only way to describe it, basically. It's in a realistic way, not just seeming like animated. I mean, sure, it's animated because, obviously, but just seeing all the different mechanisms go into place. So anyway, long story short, seeing that, and of course the explosions on screen. I mean, Michael Bay is known for explosions. Let's just put it out there. Everyone knows this. Whether you've seen one of his films before or not, most people will know Michael Bay as the director who just loves explosions. It's basically a fetish of his. Continuing on, the effects and just seeing these characters fighting each other, it's a CGI nightmare. It's just a cluster of visual effects on screen. It's almost crowded in a way where you can't really pay attention to what's going on. But at the same time, you know exactly what's going on. That's pretty much as far as I can go with the praise of this film. Overall, I think that Transformers is... Oh, wait, I forgot to bring up one important thing. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. It could be 12 o'clock, midday. The sun is out. There's no clouds in the sky. It's just blue skies. And somehow, in the same... Like, if you're recording a video at that time, it's obviously just going to be complete daytime with just blue skies, right? Not for Michael Bay. When it's blue skies are out, it's somehow in the same scene cuts to another shot of it being 5 o'clock during daylight savings time. It is a sunset shot. Now, to be fair, it looks beautiful because sunsets are beautiful, but why? I mean, yes, it looks cool, but logically, that makes no sense as to why that's in the same... You know what? Michael Bay just makes some questionable decisions. His characters have very little to them. They're not expanded on enough aside from the opening scene. Sam's the only one that gets any development. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, this movie is called Transformers. Someone must have... Can someone inform Michael Bay that this movie's called Transformers and not Humans? Because that's basically what this is. The Transformers are only the supporting characters when their name is on the poster. It's on all of the advertisements. Hell, the name of the film. If they wanted to be completely honest, they could have just called this film side characters. Because that's what they're reduced to. But in the end, it's a non-coherent story, unlikable characters, bad dialogue, atrocious even. But it's aided by some visual action that will keep the audiences entertained for 2.5 to 3 hours. So, ultimately, that's really what most moviegoers go to see. They don't really care about characters. And in the end, that's just a shame. Because I have said this many times. Characters are the most important part about a film. Visual effects are not supposed to be the only part about the film. They're not supposed to tell the story. Visual effects are there to help tell a story. But to be fair, even though they put a lot of time, money, and effort into the visual effects, it shouldn't be the only thing that they put time, money, and effort into. Because honestly, they should have worked on the dialogue and making characters who actually seem like humans, not like robots, whereas the robots in this film seem more like humans. I'd say this film gets a 5 out of 10. It's clearly the best one of all of the Transformers movies, but to be honest, that's a pretty low bar. Okay, now, with all of that being said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in once again. As for the next episode goes, I've got my work cut out for me, because I'm going to be talking about the top 10 songs of the 2000s. That'll wrap up this episode. I want to thank everyone for listening and tuning in. My name is Sean Arguello, saying goodbye for now, but not forever. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.